Welcome to the Mindset Mirror Connection podcast. In today's Mindset Mastery, I'm going to walk you through the all or nothing thinking process. This is probably one of the most common distorted thinking patterns that I see in the health and wellness industry. And so if this is something you struggle with, or maybe you're like, I have no idea what that is, but maybe it's me, I want you to listen up and lean in as I'm about to elevate your mind. Welcome, everybody. Yours truly, Coach Christina here, a licensed mental health therapist with specialized training in food and body obsession, certified personal trainer, nutrition coach, and menopause specialist. And today I'm going to rock your world with all or nothing thinking. All or nothing thinking, again, is one of the most common distorted thinking patterns that I see in the industry. You'll even see it in programs that other coaches they may put together for themselves, or even like something like 75 Hard is very all or nothing thinking. And so I thought we would elaborate on this today. I want to just define what all or nothing thinking is. It is, again, one of the most common cognitive distortions. When thinking in all or nothing terms, we split your view into extremes. So it's a very extreme thinking. Everything from your view, from your life to your experiences, is divided into black or white terms. This leaves very little room if you want to do something different, or what we call the gray area, right? And what you might not know is that all or nothing thinking is very common in people who struggle with high functioning anxiety. Research itself has linked black or white thinking with struggles with our mood, depression, anxiety, things like that. Sometimes we think we're just being harsh on ourselves, or giving ourselves tough love, or, making sure that we're going to be the best we can be, right? But we become our own critic. We become our worst critic, and we become this kind of micromanager of our behaviors. But we're focusing mostly on our failures and seeing the worst in ourselves rather than our successes. And this becomes a habit, right? This becomes a habit, and it actually will ruin your motivation. Even though you think tough love, like be better, you ruin your motivation, and it diminishes your ability to bounce back after setbacks and things like that. All or nothing thinking, again, interprets everything we do so very harshly, right? We judge our performance, we judge our potential, we view ourselves as good or bad. Food, good or bad. The amount of exercise we do, good or bad. The more harsh we are in our judgments or anything, the worse we're going to feel, right? We know that our beliefs dictate our feelings, and the worse we are on ourselves just makes us keep trying harder. Now, the interesting thing about all or nothing thinking is that I see that people will also have that perfect fail. And so I want to talk about kind of like the different types of like words that I hear. So you hear like perfect. If I can't do it perfectly, I'm not going to do it at all. Oh, I was really good, so I had this bad food. Oh, I was on track all week, so I just fell off track. I'll get back on track on Monday, or off the wagon on the wagon, right? Even restricting your food and then binging is an all or nothing behavior. And then, starting a program only to stop it and then look for a similar program out there is another form of all or nothing thinking. And again, it's this ideal that you can do something perfectly in your mind, right? With the restrictions, with the rules that you've created for yourself. And the matter of the fact is, you don't have expertise in diet, exercise, health. Because if you did, you would not need to change it, right? You would already know what to do. But you have what we call false confidence in your ability to do this diet perfectly, or exercise X amount of days perfectly, consistently. But it's a false confidence because it doesn't exist, because you don't have the reps, because you've been doing it from an all or nothing mindset for so long that that's actually what you're perfect at. You're perfect at being all or nothing. And I know that's a harsh reality, but I love this quote that says, perfectionism is procrastination masquerading as quality control. It's procrastinating. You don't believe in yourself. Therefore, you masquerade, well, I can't do it perfectly, because that's easier for you to swallow than to say, I don't know how to do this. I don't believe in myself. It hasn't worked for me in the past. I'm afraid of showing up for myself, so on and so forth. And so here are some superlatives that I hear clients coming in with. They'll have these kind of very black and white conclusions about things. So using the word always, I always screw up. I always fail my exercise. This always happens to me, right? That's a very fixed mindset. When we're using always, that means we have no room for growth. We have no option. We have nothing else that we can do. They often too give up easily on themselves at the smallest little setback. They're like, see, this isn't working. Also, too, because they believe they're always going to fail, anything that even looks like, sounds like, smells like, feels like failure, they're only proving themselves right. What they don't realize is it's actually their mindset, right? The reticular activation system, their confirmation bias that I'm constantly saying, I always fail, I always fail, I always fail. So what the brain is looking for is you always failing, right? But we'll talk about that. They also experience really low self-esteem. This is the harsh reality. You are looking at yourself as either the expert or the idiot. Let me say that again. The expert or the idiot. And chances are, if I'm looking at myself in that way, my self-esteem is going to take a major, major hit. You can't be experts in everything. And again, the reality is that in diet culture, they're not teaching you how to be the expert. They're teaching you how to be dependent. They're teaching you how to lose weight, gain it back, lose weight, gain it back. Why do you think this industry is the multi-billion-dollar industry? No one talks about what's the root cause, what's the mindset. Well, we do, but you know what I'm saying. Other things, they experience really harsh anxiety, right? With any tiny misstep, they feel like an absolute failure. Planning or prepping only increases anxiety because they don't want to fail again, right? Plus, after the fact, anxiety skyrockets because they focus only on the negatives, right? Again, they procrastinate. They don't feel motivated. Why even begin, as they say, if there's a chance I could do it wrong, right? So it's either 100% or 0%. And they ignore the good things. They ignore the wins. This is a big thing in our program, is recognizing the small wins along the way, because those small wins are actually what get you somewhere. It's not the outcome. If we're only looking at outcome, we are never going to get there. And so I want to talk about where all or nothing thinking begins from. So an all or nothing thinker, obviously, this is something maybe we've learned in childhood, right? And so oftentimes this mindset is like anything less than perfect is deemed unacceptable, right? And so we may have come from childhood experiences, parents that have very high expectations, right? And so they set these extremely high standards that are often unattainable, unrealistic, and they focus solely on success and achievement. And if you don't have success or achievement, you're a failure. Think bringing home the B plus maybe. Well, it could have been an A, right? That brings you in a very critical environment. Having a critical environment where mistakes are harshly criticized is another family dynamic that can cause this all or nothing thinking. And the belief is that you need to fear failure, right? That making mistakes is absolutely unacceptable. And also what I call conditional love, like receiving affection, receiving praise, receiving attention only if you have specific outcomes or behave in a particular way. This will lead children to associate their worth with performance, right? Some other ones here that I have listed are if you can't do it right, don't do it at all. I see this a lot with parents where a kid will be trying to do something. Children are going to fumble. They are spontaneous. They're kind of silly. They're going to fumble. But the more they fumble, pick up, do again, just kind of like when they learn to walk, the better they're going to be. But in the all or nothing mindset, and I won't use walking because no parent does this with kids with walking, but they'll do it with something like pouring a glass of water. They're going to spill the water. Let them spill. And then let's say, okay, let's see what we can do differently next time. But they just grab the water. No, you can't do that. You can't do it because you don't do it perfectly, right? Again, mistakes are unacceptable in these types of family dynamics. I think too, sometimes with kids who have they're put in surrogate parent roles. For those of you who don't know what that is, that's when maybe you have a single parent or a parent who travels a lot. So you're the eldest child. So you tend to be the caretaker of the youngers, but you don't have the emotional maturity to be able to handle that responsibility. You are going to mess up, but you mess up and now you're in trouble for something that is not your responsibility. And you feel like, I don't know what to do here. Like, do I have to do this perfectly? I don't know how to do this perfectly. Again, false confidence. And if I don't do it perfectly, I'm going to get yelled at, right? So these are some of the family dynamics that come with all or nothing thinking. Some of the common thoughts that I often hear with our clients, and I took some notes here, is like, I ate something bad this day, the week in the diet. So the diet is ruined, right? The day is ruined. I eat really good during the week, but I blew it on the weekend. And blew it may mean you went to happy hour and had some nachos. Like, those nachos aren't going to blow you up, but in your brain, they are, right? I punish myself with exercises, detox, counting calories when I haven't been good enough. So that's the flip side, right? So now I haven't been good enough. So I course correct. I heard this on another podcast. It's like when you are skidding and you completely jerk the wheel the other way, that's going to flip the car around. But that's what we do in our minds when it comes to all or nothing thinking. Trying to quit something, like I hear sugar, I hear alcohol, carbs, right? Only to binge on them later. Again, if I can't give 100% of my time or attention, then it's not going to work. People have this misconception that like there's a right time to change your habits around health. There is never a right time, ever. Even like in our program, we're teaching you what you can do on your worst week. Because if we know that you can accomplish X, Y, and Z on your worst week, then on your best week, you'll exceed that expectation. And you're going to feel good about that. And on your worst week, you're going to feel good about being able to do the things that we talked about, right? A couple others, they can't be perfect. Why bother? To-do lists are the worst. You have 10,000 things on there. They're completely unrealistic, and they just simply are something that you're not going to be able to accomplish, right? Another one is, well, I missed a workout, so I'm just not going to do it for the rest of the week, right? So what this does, this type of thinking really does just set you up for failure. You're thinking that it might set you up for success. It sets you up for failure. You know, you have this expectation of flawlessness in your day, but you don't have a flawless day. You may be an expert in your career and still have missteps, right? Still have hiccups, even in your own career. And you're an expert in that, right? And so setting yourself up for complete failure. The pressure of all or nothing thinking can be absolutely crushing. It can just feel like chains connected to you, that these unrealistic expectations are holding you back. You feel like you want to be great, you want to be successful, but the weight of carrying these expectations is too much, right? It's too much. And again, it's a vicious cycle that creates outcomes you do not want. It's the belief that creates the behaviors that create the outcomes. So if I believe I'm going to fail or I have to do it perfectly, my behaviors, which are not going to be perfect, are going to happen because that's how it is. And I'm going to then have outcomes of stopping, starting that kind of vicious cycle, that self-sabotage mindset that say, well, see, you can't do it, don't do it at all. Or with the food, I'm just going to restrict this food. I'm never going to eat this food. You don't have the ability to do that, nor do you have a health issue that says you absolutely have to do that because you will die. That's when people can restrict food pretty quickly. But if you don't have an allergy and you're not going to die, you don't have the ability to restrict the food, nor do you need to, right? You don't need to. But in your mind, in your false confidence, you're going to do it. And that's unrealistic, right? And so those are some of the things that people definitely, just some of the outcomes of it. And it really does become this cycle, right? It becomes this cycle. You want to, just off the top of the head, a cycle of like starting a fad diet. Like you've done 10,000 fad diets, but this one's going to all of a sudden work, right? You start the fad diet, you restrict the food, you white knuckle your way through that. And it might not even be like cake. It might be carbs. You need carbohydrates. Your body actually needs them. And you're like, oh no, I don't need these things that give me energy. No, you do. And finally, you get in front of them. You've had a stressful day. Your emotional boundaries are down, and boom, now we're binging on the carbs. We're binging, we're binging, we're binging. We feel like a failure.
I interrupt this episode to bring you our August promo, which is $1 for 1 month of the Mindset and Movement fitness training app. This app has been designed for anyone, whether you're a beginner, advanced, whether you have access to a full gym, or maybe you have dumbbells at home, or maybe you only have 20 minutes and you want to get a great workout in. If this is you, this app has been designed for you. The app includes 4-phase training programs. We have a 5-day split for someone who has access to a full gym. We have a 5-day split if someone has access to dumbbells. We have a 3-day body weight and band split if you want to start there. We have a 3-day time crunch dumbbell workout split if you're short on time. And we have core programs that you can add to any of the other programs. The nice thing about this app is that every month the workout change. The workouts are going to be designed based on the previous workout, so they're well phased so that you get the results that you desire. You also get access to our community forum of like-minded individuals to share your experience and share your workouts and your success. You'll also get access to a variety of resources that the Mindset of Matter includes in this program. So if you're ready to get in the best shape of your life, click the link below to get $1 for 1 month. And here's the great thing. After the first month, it's $29 per month. So you'll definitely want to partake in this. Now, back to the show.
Because again, I'm only good if I restrict the carbs. I feel like a failure. Then even worse, shame sets in. When shame sets in, we have an issue. Shame again is I am bad, wrong, not good enough. You are associating what you eat, how you eat it, how you exercise, how much you exercise with your self-worth. Think about that. Your worthiness is in your existence, not in what the fuck you put in your mouth, right? And so, again, this is such a struggle for so many people that it, will get in the way. I've had clients who would, I have a client, she's like, well, I just, my brain, it says well, I can't get it all done, so I'm just not going to do it at all. And it's like, no, we get it all done by doing the steps. We get it all done by doing one thing at a time. And in our coaching program, we're focusing on, again, your norms, the things we know you can do, we know you can be successful at. So for those of you listening, I want you to first and foremost in the method, right? For those of you, this might be your first time listening to this. If it is, I have a co-host. Her name is Amanda. In our program, we have the mindset method. It's the know, the name, the notice, and the nurture. Then we have norms. Because we blend science and psychology, the first 4 are psychological. The last one is the physical or the behavioral. And so I want to walk you guys through the method on how to fix all or nothing thinking. We've already touched on a little bit of it. A little bit of it is, where did this come from, right? Now, we talk about all or nothing thinking beyond just food and exercise. We talk about it with emotions. I see emotions oftentimes become all or nothing. Usually one or the other, where a lot of people will just numb out. That's oftentimes where food comes in to help them soothe. But I also see people will only show one emotion because they fear being out of control of the other. We look at all or nothing thinking, obviously, in our mindset, in our exercise, and of course, in our food. And so in the no phase, your job is to understand, well, how did I get here? Did I have a parent that was, who set unrealistic expectations or, showed me praise? Was I seen and heard only when I was achieving or perfect or the good girl, right? Because what you learn from that too is not only the achievement aspect of it, but you also learn that you can't share your reality, because your reality is your thoughts, your feelings, your wants, and your needs. And if those don't go along with this vision of perfection that you're perceiving from your family of origin, then you're not going to share what's inside. And that in itself is going to create a whole slew of issues in your body, in your self-worth, in your own relationships, right? And so we want to know, where did this come from? what does my emotions look like? Do I only show certain emotions? Do I numb from certain emotions? What are my boundaries, right? All or nothing can be boundaries as well. I can be very dependent on people where I need them all the time. I don't feel like I can survive without others, or I can be anti-dependent of people. I've learned that people don't show up for me, so I'm just going to do it myself. This is a big one for our clients because they are such high achieving women. They've just grinded, and because their family expected perfection, they never ask for help because asking for help makes them look like a failure. I hear this with my physicians over and over and over again, but at the same time, they experience imposter syndrome, right? So like they feel like imposters, but they can't ask for help because they ask for help, then it's only going to solidify their imposters. And you can see how now we're just chasing our tail, right? So I want you guys to think about that. When I'm in that all or nothing mindset, how old do I feel? And then what experiences in my life do I connect with that mindset? Close your eyes, think about it. If you just close your eyes and think about like the feelings that you have when you're all or nothing, so the actual emotions, the thought, I'm a failure, maybe even pay attention to your body where you feel it, and then think about when's an early time in my life when I felt this way, your brain will start making connections. Then we go into the name. Okay. So we want to name your all or nothing inner critic voice, right? So that could really be anything. However, more importantly, we want to name the specific self-defeating beliefs. I've said some of them here. I can't get it right with diet and exercise. I always fail on a diet. I can't work out 5 days a week. You probably can't, right? That's okay. I blah, blah, blah. So we want to name our self-defeating beliefs. So the next thing that you're going to want to name is your unmet needs that this all or nothing thinking is trying to provide for you. What you need to realize is that all or nothing thinking came out of this wounded child place. Then your ego, which is the part of you that protects your identity. So if your wounded inner child is the failure place, your ego is there to protect it, and not in good ways. It's not like it's okay. It's protecting what you believe. So it's going to use that all or nothing. See, didn't do it perfectly, right? Because your ego is there to determine and predict how life is going to be for you, because that's safer. It's kind of like, I don't remember the term. It's like the evil that you know, whatever that term is, right? Like it's better the evil you know versus the evil you don't know, or whatever the fucking term is. Your ego is that. It knows I'm okay with feeling like a failure. It's comfortable feeling like a failure. So I'm going to show you you're a failure. But that child, that inner child part of you has these needs that aren't being met. And there's 6 needs that we usually aren't getting met. And this is what I want you to figure out and name. Identity, right? So discovery of self, safety, perceiving the world as safe or unsafe, connection or love. So obviously forming deep, meaningful connections, autonomy, like feeling like you have control over your life, variety or stimulation, like having curiosity, learning and growth, right? So being comfortable with getting uncomfortable, seeking goals, seeking change. So we need to figure out what is the unmet need in our all or nothing pattern. Then we have notice. In notice, what we are going to do is exactly that. We are going to notice our ways of thinking in the moment. We're going to name it, right? We just named it. We gave it a name. We're going to notice it and say, there's all or nothing Nancy, right? There's black and white, Wendy, whatever, black or white Betty. That sounds better. We're going to name it, and we're going to name it without judgment, as if we are seeing someone in front of our face. We're going to say, that is black or white Betty. And for the first couple times doing that, you are solely just going to notice it as if, again, it's standing in front of you. Then what you can do is begin to step back from it slowly. Step back from it slowly. When we step back from it, what we're creating is space to respond instead of react. Because your initial reaction is, oh, let's give up, right? If we can respond, we're going to respond by doing something very specific. We're going to focus on the facts instead of the fears or the fantasy, right? So let's talk about that. The facts are what they are. I can't work out 5 days a week. I have 75 things that I do every single day, and working out 5 days a week is not okay. I can't do it. So maybe I can work out 2 days a week. Great, start there, right? The fantasy is I could work out 6 days a week because that's what I did when I was 16. You also didn't have children and a family and a career at 16. Or the fears are, 2 days a week isn't enough. Well, it's more than nothing days a week, right? So focus on the facts instead of the fear or the fantasy, okay? And then the more you do that, you're going to start to recreate this process of all or something. It's okay to be all. It's okay to do your 5 workouts if you have a week off, but it's okay to do something too, the 2 workouts, right? And so then in the nurture part, we're nurturing that and we're creating this new sense of self. So we go to that unmet need and we say, listen, you're worthy. Your worth is in your existence. I'm just thinking about the identity part. Your worth is in your existence. You're a human being, not a human doing. And your doing does not have anything to do with how good you are. And that's what your little self needed to learn. Now, again, when we talk about families of origin, we're not talking about like, don't call your mom or dad and be like, you ruined my life. They knew what they knew and they did what they could, right? They may not even know that you perceived your situation in this way. But I want you to just, recognize that. And as you can begin to grow that authentic part of yourself, to water that need for identity, for example, or love and connection without doing, you're going to create new neural pathways in your brain that allow you to live in this something, to allow you to live in the gray and know that that has nothing to do with who you are. And the nice thing about the something is that we can always grow it. We can always add to it. The more we're consistent with it, then we can say, oh, I'll add a little bit more here or there. Yes, you'll find your threshold based on your circumstances, but you're going to be able to do something consistently, which again is going to give you the outcomes that you desire. One little tool that I do with clients, and then I'll wrap up here, is percentages. We do 25% days, 50% days, 75% days, and 100% days. So 100% days are you are firing on all cylinders. You are going. You can do all the things. You can track your food, hit your macros, do the workout, get 5,000 steps. Whatever it is that you decide to do, that's your 100% day. But then you have your 75% day, and you're like, ooh, maybe I can't hit my macros, but I'll hit my calories and I'll get 4,000 steps and I will do a shorter workout. Then you have your 50% day. Maybe I can't hit my calories and macros, but I'm going to get a protein and a vegetable at each meal. I'm going to get up and walk around after each meal. I'm going to not do a workout, but I'll do a 10-minute yoga. So you guys can see this. And then 25% might be, I feed myself, I bathe, stuff like that. So that's something you can also take from this podcast today, this episode. So again, guys, all or nothing thinking will literally be the barrier. It is the thing that keeps you from seeing the results you desire. It is not difficult to create a healthy lifestyle, but you're doing it wrong. You're looking at these influencers who are like, do 75 hard, do paleo, come to my 8-week challenge. What happens after the 8 weeks, right? You're going super hard for 8 weeks and then, right? That's only exacerbating your thinking around all or nothing thinking and really your sense of self as a failure. So learn how to do this something, learn how to live in the gray, use the method, right? The know, the name, the notice, and the nurture. Then the norms can be your 25, your 50, your 75, your 100. Look at your worst week. Kids are sick, dog is throwing up, husband is gone, or partner is not there. What can you do on your worst week? Start there for nutrition, for movement, for exercise. You don't have to do all 3. You can start with 1. And I promise you, if you do that, you will find the results you want to find. And not only the results, you'll be able to sustain them. I asked the client today, who is a dentist, why do people brush their teeth and floss every day? She goes, well, it's because we want to get rid of the bacteria in the teeth. I go, yes, because if we don't do that, the teeth will decay. This is true for your body. You've got to figure out how to do these things like you brush your teeth every day. Figure out how to make them mindless. Figure out how to make them seamless. Figure out how to make them realistic. And you will have the results you desire. So that's it. I hope you enjoyed this mindset mastery. We'll come back to the two of us in our next episode, I think. If you're interested in figuring out how to do this, if you feel like you can't do this on your own, please check out the Clarity Call link below. We'll set up a time to talk. In that conversation, you're going to walk away with the next best steps to get you to the results you want. Also, if you enjoy this information, you can find myself and my team of highly amazing coaches at the Mindset of Matter Coaching on Instagram. You'll also find this recording on YouTube at the Mindset of Matter. And if you don't remember anything from this, which you should, I want you to remember one thing. What you say in your mind, you see in the mirror. Bye-bye.